men are like dust under their feet.
The Prince Regent is angry. There's no telling what he will do.
You wish to rule the Seven Kingdoms, but you reign ruin and death.
While you have mustered an army, Rhaenyra has faltered.
Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I will be doing a review of House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 8, the season finale, The Queen Whoever Was. If you've seen my other video with the spoiler-free thoughts, I'm ready to talk about spoilers. I think that this was a fantastic way to close out the season. We have a lot of things that happen, a lot of things that are setting up many things for Season 3. If anything, I think the main complaint I'll see on the internet will be that not a lot happened as far as finality, as far as a lot of closure in this issue, right? Maybe people were expecting a big battle, and I don't think that happened. But I think the show did enough things and closed out enough of these character arcs that have been set up through Season 2 to really make me happy about what's going on in the season and to make me enjoy this season. I think the performances have been fantastic. There's a lot of standouts in this season, and I think there's a lot of events that I was not expecting. I think they've introduced an aspect on this that I was not expecting to see in this show, but it really very nicely ties into the Game of Thrones original show. So we'll talk about that as we go through all this. As I mentioned in my previous spoiler-free video, this is the longest list of notes I've ever taken for House of the Dragon, and maybe even any show, really. Maybe something like Rings of Powers might have had more things, because I just take a lot of notes as to what's going on, who's interacting with whom, so all that stuff. So let's get into it. We're going to get into spoilers. If you haven't seen the episode, make sure to go check it out, because I think it's fantastic, and you deserve to go into this season finale unspoiled. I'm glad I was able to avoid the leak. Like, I know there was supposed to be a leak for the last season, for the last episode of the season. There was only like one thing I almost saw on TikTok, but I very quickly scrolled away, so that was nice. But let's get into it. We're going into spoilers. So we begin with Tywin Lannister. He has set out to buy an armada, right? He goes to meet with the Triarchy, and we meet Admiral Lohor, who quite a badass character, and everybody really in the Triarchy, they're very different from the type of characters that we see in Game of Thrones. They bring this other really interesting, just the tension that they bring. It's because the characters are so different. They're not things. They're a little bit off kilter from what we're used to seeing. Specifically, characters that are in King's Landing, where we spend really a lot of the time. Right? They don't have. These are. It's just like there are. It's a unity of these pirates that really they don't like people of Westeros overall. So like they are not accustomed to maybe what we've seen as far as decorum. So sending in somebody like Tywin Lannister, it's such a fantastic. It's definitely a fish out of water. But yeah, the introduction of Admiral Lohor, I thought, was really interesting. Very fun character. We'll talk more about that in a minute. We do see that Vhagar and Aemon have burnt down a place called Sharp Point. Really just in anger. There was no strategy behind that, and I think that's going to be one of Aemon's downfalls, that he really sometimes just does things because of he's angry, right? Not because he really has a purpose for that. We also, throughout the episode, we will continually check in on Rhaena, who continues to look for that dragon outside of the Vale. In a very courageous move to just leave her party, leave everything behind, really go unprepared into the wilderness to find this dragon. We also see Jace, who confronts Ulf and Hugh, the two newly recruited dragon riders. I think if you know the character of Ulf, obviously he's a very cocky person, very much someone that does not have that court decorum that maybe you would expect, and that can come off as disrespect. But his station has risen, right? He now has a power that he never would have dreamed in his life. So it's interesting to see that play out. Whereas Hugh is a little bit more reserved, but Jace definitely puts his foot down. So hopefully this doesn't come back to bite anyone in the butt. We'll see. we don't know what's going to happen with these dragon riders, right? I think initially they are going to play along with Rhaenyra, but we'll see what happens in the future for that. We also sketch in with Rhaenyra and Corlys talking strategy. One of my favorite parts of this episode is that Corlys renames the sea snake, his ship, to the Queen Who Never Was, to remember and in memory of Rhaenys. So that's very, very cool. We also check in on Alfred Broom, who had been sent. He was sent over to Harrenhal to see Daemon and really get an update from him. And I love there's a scene where they walk into the God's Woods, and we just hear. I wrote in my notes, Luigi's mansion echoes the word traitor, and I think Alfred Broom is going to be the betrayer, right? They definitely have planted all those seeds throughout. So I think if anyone is going to cause Rhaenyra troubles in the future, is definitely going to be him, because he doesn't seem to be fully on board. He's yeah, he's just not an honorable person, and we can definitely tell that because he tells Damon he will serve him if he decides to rise up against Rhaenyra. So obviously trying to plant some seeds maybe there. I think the time at Harrenhal has been very interesting. I think Damon had to go on a journey this season, and we see a culmination of that journey here in this episode, which we'll talk about in a minute. We also see Helena talking to Alicent, and this is where Aemon comes in to ask Helena to fly Dreamfire, which probably my favorite name of any of the dragons. Really, like that's a really cool name, Dreamfire. But of course, that's not in Helena's nature, right? She's a little bit different than her siblings. She doesn't want violence. She doesn't want to be involved in all this. But I think she's going to be a big part of what's coming up ahead. We also see Wayne confront Cole about his sister. We didn't get a lot of Sir Kristen Cole and his army this episode, which is interesting because a lot of the time that we spent in season 2 was with them. Um, we also see that Tylan has to mud wrestle with Emerald Lohar uh, so that she will deem him worthy enough to sail for it. Like, so not only does he have to get the Triarchy on board and pay them what they want, which what they requested was the Stepstones. So that's of course going to bring conflict. But then they mud wrestle. It's a great scene. I think both actors just a great performance as far as like physicality, having to shoot all that stuff in the mud. It looked dirty, it looked grimy, it looked very, very well done. Ultimately, Tylan earns the respect and he has earned his own armada. Um, we also see Jace and Bela have a conversation. I love when these two are together in a scene. They're just great. Like there's so much chemistry between the actors too, but also the characters themselves. They are both really just trying their best. But Bela seems to talk a little bit of sense into Jace that he has to be supportive. He's worth more than whatever blood may flow through his veins. Right? He is a Targaryen because of his actions, not just the title and the fact that he has a dragon. Um, we see a dinner for the Dragon Riders where Ulf gets once again. He's probably the one that is the least. He worries me. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about his behavior because he's not. He doesn't seem as honorable as the other two new Dragon Riders. It seems like for him, it's really all about convenience and about this new power that he's earned. Um, we also check in because Sir Simon sends word to Rhaenyra about a possible treason in Harrenhal right after the conversation that he overheard a little bit of what Broom and Damon were talking about in the God's Woods. Uh, man, I love that character. Sir Simon is probably one of my favorite characters of the season. Like the actor just plays him so. He has this little charm about him that not a lot of the characters have. And that's because that's the nature of a show like this, like Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. It's very hard for like the audience to find a character that they'll like because they are just like they're just a nice person. But Sir Simon seems to be one of the best. So I love it. I love the performance. It's great stuff. As Damon goes into the Alice is such a weirdo because she's just sitting on his bed and she's like, "Come on, let's go to the wood." Um, we see that Damon sees an antler-shaped human, according to the closed caption, in the Godswood with Alice. So, like, what the heck is going on? Damon finally touches the trees and sees a vision of the future. He's now finally brought into the prophecy. We see shots of the Night King, the three-eyed raven. We see Dany and her dragons. We see Rhaenyra and the throne. We also see Helena talk to him, like directly talk to him. So that gave me a lot of questions too. But I think finally Damon understands his role in this larger battle, and that's probably what Alice was trying to prepare him for. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is probably the end of all the more supernatural magic type of stuff, at least for Damon for now, because I believe now we're about to go into battle. Uh, we see that Aemon is talking to Helena, trying to convince her to fly Dragon Dreamfire into battle for him. One thing I did notice is that Helena was just kind of standing out on the balcony. This is right after the scene with Damon, where she appears in his vision. Like after Damon sees Rhaenyra in the Iron Throne, Helena comes from behind, and she's wearing the same outfit. So like is Helena like does she have these supernatural abilities? I think all throughout the season we've seen that she definitely has a connection with some sort of otherworldly power. Maybe she's a warg. I don't know if that could be the thing. Wargs are the people that kind of can see stuff happening through the animals and stuff, kind of like we saw in the original series. So yeah, I don't know what's going on, but she ends up telling Aemon about the future, where Aegon returns as a he returns to try to claim his throne. So Aemon's been put on notice. I don't know what's going to happen there. That'll probably just guide him even deeper into this terrible path. We see Rhaenyra and Adam go to Harrenhal via dragon, so they get there pretty quickly. And this is probably one of the best scenes of the maybe even the season, but definitely the episode. Aemon and Rhaenyra finally come to a head and they talk about it. But after everything that Aemon has been, or everything that Daemon has been through, sorry, I get Daemon and Aemon's name confused because they're almost the same. Daemon and Rhaenyra talk in Harrenhal. Uh, Daemon mentions that all the people that are there, they're loyal to him. So Rhaenyra confronts him about who he's loyal to. But after all that, Daemon does bend the knee. After seeing everything, the prophecy, he has now been filled into the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire that we know about, that only a few people know, right? I think only Jace and only Rhaenyra know about it in their camp. So he's kind of brought in. And this is another moment where Sir Simon just kind of shined. Like he was really happy that everything is kind of working out. He's the one that goes to receive Rhaenyra as she arrives on her dragon. I think it's Caraxes is her dragon, I believe. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments whose dragon is who. Um, we also check in with Corlys as he talks to uh, Alan, and Alan is kind of fed up. Like he's not accepting anything that he's given him, any help that he might be trying to offer. Adam is just not having any of it. So that's really interesting. That Adam just does not want anything from Corlys. Reyna finally spots the dragon. We see that, and we're gonna check in on that towards the end of the episode. She's had a rough trip. We've been checking in on her, like just for these little moments, and it's very interesting. We also see Rhaenyra and Mysaria talk after Rhaenyra goes back to Dragonstone, and I think that Mysaria is trying to convince Rhaenyra that she's now the most prepared she's going to be for what she needs to do next. Unfortunately, Rhaenyra knows that what she has to do next is something that's going to be probably terrible, and it's going to kill a lot of people. That's really the worst thing that's going to happen. Um, we see that Alicent travels to see Rhaenyra to kind of give up, to try to see if she can end the war. And anytime Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy are on a scene together, they are fantastic. Just amazing to see them. The chemistry on screen. It is so unfortunate that this season we only got to see them a couple of times in scenes together, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. Yeah, really cool. This is it. They have a really long scene about all the things that they could do and how they could bring this war to an end. But Rhaenyra knows what she has to do. So is Allison gonna do what she feels like she has to do? It's a very weird proposition for both of them. Um, Finally, we check in with everyone. We see the dragon riders dressing up and all the pieces moving into place. We do see Otto. He's in a prison somewhere. That's very interesting, but that's definitely something they're going to leave us hanging with till next season. We also see that Aegon is escaping with Laris to safety. We see that Rhaena finds the dragon, but we don't know if she's going to be able to like have that connection. And we see all the armies moving into place. Thailand coming in with his fleet now with the Triarchy, that was the only thing where I thought it didn't look as cool. Like, and like just you could tell that obviously that was not shot on an actual ship, and it just looked weird. Even they try to make a rain to maybe try to cover some of the effects. I thought that was probably just the weakest effect of visually of the episode, but other than that, it looks fantastic. I love seeing dragons just kind of fly in the background as people are having conversation. So we had great performances, a lot of pieces move into place, a closure of some of these arcs, specifically Damon. I think his arc is finally closed and he's now where he needs to be. Um, and yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. I don't read the book, so I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm looking forward to the next season. So after all that, let me know, what did you think about this season finale? And as always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone.